What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another Oxygen Not Included. Can I speak today, please, brain? Included Oxygen Not. Okay, etch a sketch. Welcome back to another Oxygen Not Included experiment video. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the builds I did recently actually, the clay and oxygen factory. Now there were some issues with this. I actually had a chance to set this up over on Twitch live. I was doing a playthrough and I set this up just trying to test it out. Found a couple issues with it that we're gonna kind of work through today, see if we can't fix it. But yeah, you can check me out on Twitch if you would like to. I don't really have a schedule set yet, but it tends to be around 6 p.m. Mountain Time is when I start. I usually stream for like 8 hours. Link is in the description if you want to check that out. All right, sellout over. So yeah, this system, some issues that I found with it were, one, I didn't pre-plan a disinfectant system because, yes, slime gives off polluted oxygen that's infected with Slimelung, and it will continuously, it will continuously grow in that polluted oxygen. So the oxygen that we cleanse still has some Slimelung in it, and it takes a while for that to kind of dissipate out, or die off in the gas by itself. So we needed some kind of disinfecting system after the pumps to speed that process along. And what I ended up doing in that game was I had a cool slush geyser, so I ended up just running a cool slush line from that geyser, which the water was like -10 degrees, and I ended up running that over some pipes, over some radiant pipes of my output oxygen to see how quickly that would kind of kill it off with low temperature. Now I didn't really get a good accurate reading because I couldn't look in the pipe. I couldn't look at the oxygen in the pipe and see how much germs was in it. So all I saw was the output oxygen in the tank, which was coming out at about 1,000 germs or something. And then it was dying off relatively quickly after that. But I wanted to figure out, one, what is the most effective way to kill Slimelung? Is it chlorine? Is it cold temperatures? If it's temperature, does a more extreme temperature kill it off quicker? Is heat better? So we've got a couple experiments going on. Another thing is that slime was actually quite difficult for me to continuously produce, and well, not produce, but dig up. And the reason being, so we've got this area here, right, with a bunch of slime. Well, a bunch of polluted oxygen. You can see there's some slime on the ground, not much, but a little bit. But when you dig it up, it leaves this vacuum here. So all this slime falling off can off-gas into that. So we lose a lot of the mass just out into the open. Sure, I could just slap a pump here and pump polluted oxygen into this system here. Just slap a vent in here somewhere or something. But that's not really how it was designed. So if I was designing a system around that, these two things would be separated. I would have just a slime room where I could either pump polluted oxygen in or just store my slime, and then I could pump that polluted oxygen over to a deodorizer room, which would be a completely different system. But I wanted to figure out, I'm kind of rambling, I wanted to figure out how many morbs it would take to run this system. So we're going to test that as well. But first, let's get on to the experiment. So here I've got sort of just a mass of polluted oxygen that I've just let run rampant with germs. So 1.9 million is what we're kind of capped out at. It does fluctuate a little bit. And I've pumped all of these chambers full of the gas in here. So it's all coming from the same place, same temperature, same amount of germs, everything. Now I have these, I think 6x2. Yeah, I have these 6x2 storage areas for the polluted oxygen, which amounts to a total of 24 kilograms of polluted oxygen. Now you can see in here, there's only 20,000 germs per tile here, but if we look in the reservoir, there's 242,000. And someone actually told me this on stream as well, but the amount of germs is based on the mass of the tile as well. So when we're pumping this through a pipe, it's going to have less germs in it. Now, here we have -23 degree hydrogen. Here we have 6 degree hydrogen. So I want to see if there's a difference in the rate of death on the germs with a more extreme temperature. Slimelung dies off at 10 degrees. So something below 10 degrees will kill off Slimelung. So this 6 degree hydrogen should start killing it off. So I'm wondering if a more extreme temperature will kill it off quicker. Also, I've got magma here to see how fast that kills it off, because why not? All right, so we're gonna pause the game. I'm actually going to put it on ×1 because I want to monitor this very quickly. Very quickly. I want to monitor this very carefully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the middle tank here with chlorine, because I do want to compare it to chlorine, and we're just going to leave it at 320 degrees, which is around 46. Well, this is 320 Kelvin. This is around 46 degrees Celsius, I believe. Yeah. So we've got a 46-degree chlorine, which the gas inside is not really going to be affected by the temperature much, especially since it's in chlorine. So let's see what kills things off a little bit quicker. So turn all these clock sensors off so the door's shut, and off we go. Now the chlorine does have an effect immediately where the doors have to shut, so chlorine might get a small boost, but I want to see kind of how fastly it's going to work. How fastly? Gosh, I'm on the ball today. I'm nailing it. Fastly, yeah. So we're at 20,400 germs on the very cold stuff. We're at 20,700 germs. And I'm wondering if just the temperature difference here is causing this to cool it down slower because there's less of a difference. The difference in temperature will cause heat to transfer faster. So the heat in this would transfer faster if this hydrogen was colder. So that may be what's going on, because we haven't even cooled the oxygen down to 10 degrees yet. I probably should have checked that. I think it will get down there eventually. All right, let's look at this. So we're down to -6 degrees, but we're down to 2,000 germs in the polluted oxygen. Wow. Okay, wait a minute. The polluted oxygen in the cold room is actually lower than the chlorine. What about the magma? Magma seemed to kill it off quickly. Now, this is probably due to the extreme temperature difference, because there is still 1,000 germs, which isn't too far off 2,000 here. So magma's, 1,700 degrees. So that's a huge temperature difference from the 20-degree polluted oxygen we started with, whereas this temperature difference over here was only like 30 degrees or something. So I imagine that this would kill off faster because it would transfer the temperature faster. It would get to that point where it's killing the germs off quicker. But this is interesting. I thought chlorine would actually kill the germs off faster than oxygen, or than just cool temperature. But it seems that temperature is working a little bit better. Now remember, the polluted oxygen was exposed to chlorine faster, well, just a little bit faster, than the polluted oxygen was brought down to below a temperature that it could, start killing the germs. So the fact that this only has 912 germs and this still has 2.8 is very interesting to me. What about this room over here? Okay, we haven't even reached below the 10-degree mark over here, so this was just a blunder on my part. I should have set this one to like -40 and this one to like 0 degrees, because there's just not much of a temperature difference here. Even though I have a 200 kilogram mass over here, it's transferring very, very slowly. Maybe eventually that might drop down to 10 degrees, but I don't think we're going to wait for that. So 380 germs in polluted oxygen, 123 germs in the polluted oxygen on the cold side. So the chlorine is catching up here at the end, or maybe not. Either way, they're very similar. They're very similar. But I would say if this wasn't polluted oxygen, if it was oxygen instead, polluted oxygen versus oxygen, same temperature. I'm going to set that up real quick. So it seems that they're very close as far as chlorine and like cold temperatures go. And I imagine heat is very similar. If the germs are above 100 degrees, then they're still going to be dying off at the same rate, I imagine. All right, so we're back here and we've got some polluted oxygen here, 2,000 grams per tile with 20,000 Slimelung germs. It's at 46 degrees currently. Oxygen is the exact same, except for it's oxygen. So I imagine that the oxygen germs are going to die off quicker because, well, it's oxygen. So it's naturally dying off on the oxygen anyway. But adding a cold temperature, I'm wondering how rapidly that increases it. So let's go ahead and close these doors and watch it happen. I do have 250 kilograms of hydrogen in this room, well, per tile at -43. So yeah, let's watch them happen. I probably should have lowered the oxygen temperature so it transferred a little bit quicker, kind of reduced its temperature a little bit faster, but it's fine. You can see we've already got germs dying off on the oxygen, whereas the polluted oxygen staying around 20,000. But we've only lost like 200 so far. All right, so things are past 10 degrees now. So if we take a look at the germs, we can see that it's dying on oxygen, 29% dead. And then to current temperature, 7.6 degrees, 100% dead per cycle. 7.4 degrees. So it says it's growing on polluted oxygen still. 300% spawn per cycle. Well, this doesn't make much sense, really. If it's growing, if it's spawning 300% per cycle, and only 100% are dying off per cycle, the growth rate should counteract the death rate here, but it's not. Wow. Okay, what the heck is going on? So they're dying off very similarly, which is kind of strange. You would think that oxygen has the benefit of it not growing, but maybe the temperature inhibits the growth and it just doesn't say that. But yeah, they're very similar. So if you wanted to, clean your oxygen before you turned it into oxygen. So if you wanted to clean the polluted oxygen, before actually turning it into oxygen, that's a viable strategy as well, because it doesn't seem to really affect the rate at which the germs die, even though it did say it was growing. At this point the germs are too low, so now it's got this debuff where it's dying off. But when the germs are above a certain point, it actually said it was growing. So that's very interesting. So what did we find out? Well, temperature seems to be, or at least cold temperature. I didn't test heat very in depth because you're probably not going to want to be heating your oxygen up that's being pumped into your base. You probably want to cool it down, so it helps cool your base down, kind of like air conditioning. So we found that temperature works just as efficiently or effectively as chlorine. Difference being, it might be a little difficult to set up. But I would say just running like radiant pipes through a cold area like I was experimenting with on my live stream works pretty well. It's just you may need a larger radiator than I had originally set up. Chlorine has the benefit of sort of just storing your gas storing it in a reservoir and then just testing with automation whether or not it's clean. Very simple, very easy thing to set up. Currently, yeah, chlorine and cold temperatures work pretty similarly as far as killing off Slimelung. Now, let's jump to the morbs and see how many it would take to sustain this system here. All right, so instead of just adding the morbs in one by one to wait for this thing to balance itself out, I went and looked at the wiki. Now, I don't normally trust the wiki because a lot of that stuff's outdated, but some of the critter stuff hasn't changed for a while, so I'm gonna think this is right. So it's saying that the morb can produce 25 grams of polluted oxygen per second, up to 1 kilogram of pressure. So we actually need to lower these Atmos sensors if we want to do this. So we could say like probably 1200, just so the oxygen stays a little higher pressure. And currently I'm just pumping it out to space, but all right, so we're gonna need 5 morbs per deodorizer. At least that's the theory. All right, so we have, or we should have, 25 morbs in here. Now, is that enough oxygen? I don't know. Let's run it for a while and we'll come back with the results. Okay, we're back after a single cycle here with 25 morbs, and we ended up with 53 kilograms of oxygen. I don't remember the exact number that this is supposed to be, but with 5 deodorizers running at 100%, I believe it's around 270. So 25 morbs? Definitely not enough. So what are we going to do? We're going to double it. Okay, we're back after another cycle with 50 morbs, and I went ahead and ran the math while I was waiting for the cycle to end. And if a morp was producing 25 grams a second of polluted oxygen, then 25 morps would produce 375 kilograms of polluted oxygen over a single cycle, and that is not happening here. Not even 50 morps are producing that much. So the wiki is definitely wrong. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe they got overpressurized, but no, they definitely did not. The pressure in here didn't really rise above 800 ever. At least I didn't see it rise above 800. And if I just run it a little bit, you can kind of, ooh, there's 1,000 there. But for the most part, it's very, very low pressure down here. So the morb should never really have issues outputting. Now maybe, I'm not very familiar with critters, so maybe morbs stacking on top of each other has some kind of effect, but I doubt it. That would kind of be dumb, I think. It would be a kind of a dumb mechanic, but you never know. Yeah, I'm not big on critters, so there's a lot of information I don't know about them. But this was with 50 morbs, and we got 100 kilograms of oxygen in a single cycle, which is not a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and add how many morbs I think I'll need to reach the 270 kilograms of oxygen per cycle. I'll test that, and then we'll come back. Okay, we're back, and I've gotten 158 kilograms with 126 morbs. Now I did lower the pressure in here to 1,000 just to kind of help a little bit, but there might just be, yeah, I don't really know. Maybe let me think. If I maybe did something like this and had, you know, half the morbs on this layer and half the morbs down below, that might be a little bit better. But it would still take a crap load of morbs to make the system work. And this is one of the reasons I dislike critters. I mean, look at this. This is awesome, first of all. I mean, to look at it, it's very, I like it. I would love to have this in my base. But to farm up 126 morbs, or even more potentially, because the system is not generating, you know, as much as the slime did. That is a ridiculous amount of morbs to farm up in a normal game, but it would be very impressive if managed. That being said, morbs in combination with like slime that you have would be a good source. Kind of, you know, split the load between the slime and the morbs. But overall, the system in general is having some problems generating polluted oxygen. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to test that I was reading on the wiki, and it was saying, I've heard this before, it was saying that some of the critters produce, they reach their maximum production if they are restricted. Their movement is restricted. Now, I don't know if doors actually affect these guys, but they do. Okay, so the morbs can no longer move because we have doors in here. So I'm going ahead and reset all of the experiment here. Go ahead and clear the clay, even though I'm not really paying attention to that. And then we'll run it for another cycle and come back and see if the morbs, now I still have like 120 morbs in here. So ideally this should be, like fill these tanks up in less than a cycle if they are producing 25 grams a second. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll come back after it's done. Okay, so it obviously hasn't been a cycle. I've noticed that the morbs aren't doing anything. They're all just idle. So perhaps this was changed in a patch. I don't know if somebody is, well, that one just kind of pooped a little bit. But yeah, they're not doing anything. And you can see the pressure down here is actually quite low. Well, you can't see it. Yeah, so polluted oxygen, 94 grams. And they're not producing at all. So if you're like a critter guru and you've just been messing with critters forever, maybe you can point out what's going on here, or if this was fixed or what, and kind of post it in the comments below if you know that. But the doors seem to not help at all. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, just having them running around really kind of produced. I did like the fact that the cold temperature killed off the chlorine as pretty much as fast, or no, cold temperatures killed off the Slimelung pretty much as fast as chlorine, if not faster. So that's what we discovered. That's all I got for you today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found this video interesting or something like that. If you want to check me out live, I'm over on Twitch at JukeByLife. The link is in the description. You can come say hi, ask me some questions, you know, call me fat. I don't care. I'm not fat though, so it wouldn't make sense if you did that. But you can do whatever you want is my point. So yeah, come check me out on Twitch. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. You can also check out my Discord. I don't think the link will be in the, my link might be in the description to the Discord. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.